Welcome to Real Estate Hot Wired. Maggie Rose March will be your host today. She is an informed voice for the novice investor, a voice of reason for the seasoned investor. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Maggie Rose March, and this is Real Estate Hot Wired. Today we are talking with Peter West about how to make lemonade out of lemons, better known as We All Fail Forward Towards Success. Peter is a consummate professional, and he's no stranger to the real estate business. Peter has worked in residential, commercial, appraisal, land, new home sales, and as a mortgage originator. Currently, he focuses on commercial and industrial and development on his own behalf and for clients on a nationwide basis. Peter's approach with clients is based on a counseling model versus a sales approach. He holds many licenses, both as a broker and an instructor, in Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, and Florida. He has many professional designations and certifications, including a certified residential specialist, a graduate of the Real Estate Institute, and a senior real estate specialist. He's received awards. In 2007, he was inducted into the Buyer's Agent Hall of Fame. And in 2020, most recently, Jack Hunt Excellence in Education Award from the Society of Exchange Counselors. He has professional affiliations with both Sarasota Manatee Association of Realtors and the Venice Area Board of Realtors. He is also affiliated with the Commercial Real Estate Alliance, Florida Association of Realtors, NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, CCIM, Society of Exchange Counselors. And one other notable item is that he was the national sales trainer for Century 21. And he's also been a past presenter at the national and state conventions, the vice president of modular building systems. He is the broker of Bishop West Real Estate in Massachusetts, and he's the partner in Bishop West Real Estate LLC in Florida. And I'm proud to introduce you to Peter, who was also my past broker. Peter, welcome back to Real Estate Hot Wired.
Thanks, Maggie. It's great to be with you again today.
So I'm excited about today's show because I know we can change some people's lives with some of the funny things that we can share with them so that they can understand and investigate ways and opportunities that might present themselves. I hope I said that right. I felt like I lost something there in that translation. But nothing ever happens according to plan exactly, or seldom ever happens according to plan exactly. And we thought it might be fun if we shared some of the things that have happened to us and the ways that we have discovered what would be or start out to be such a great idea and then turned into maybe not so great an idea and then turned back into, well, this can work. And so, Peter, let's start with what's some of the craziest things that have happened to you during the pursuit of what we call the profitable door?
Oh, I can tell you that the pursuit of the profitable door, I'm still in pursuit of it every day, actually. But I don't suppose this is anything really different than anywhere else. I mean, predominantly on our mind as we've, gone through and dealt with the pandemic and everything, I can tell you it's not a specific transaction, but it's kind of a marketing plan went bad. Back in November, we decided to, for our Massachusetts brokerages, we purchased a bunch of packages, and anybody that bought or sold a house through us, and we designated March to be the month, would receive a certificate for a free Caribbean cruise or cruise to the Bahamas or cruise to Mexico.
Oh, no.
And yeah. And so we did a whole marketing blitz, huge social media. And I'm not talking us posting on Facebook. We hired a digital marketing company to do it. We put up billboards. We've got radio ads running. And just as we start this, the virus starts to hit. then people get sick on the cruise ship. And then as we're, getting through the month, cruise ships are banned from leaving port. So that one hopefully is going to go down as something we'll look at in the past playbooks and said that was one we could have never predicted. And timing just wasn't on our side on that marketing venue. So, I mean, that one sticks out right off the top of, my mind. I've been doing this long enough that I remember when the stock market crashed in October 1987. And the bottom line is that America is a very strong place. Americans are great people, and we're very resilient. So we can bounce back from those types of things. On a lighter note, I think back and a long time ago, I used to do appraisals and have an appraisal company, and I'll never forget going out to this remote location for a national mortgage company, and they sent me out to do the final inspection on this new construction on the second home in a rural community. Now, this was a while ago, so we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones or anything like that, so even some of our listeners probably don't even know a time when that was the way it was, but that's the way it was. And I remember driving out there, and it was probably a half-hour drive, and I'm out in the country, and I'm looking for this place. And I'm looking, and again, it's rural, so you don't have house number after house number, and I'm trying to figure out where it's supposed to go. Now, remember, I said I was going out to appraise a final construction. They were going to release the final draw on the construction loan. And then I couldn't find the place, and then I went back, and I did some more research with the maps, and the next day I went back, and I finally narrowed down where I was going. And the reason I couldn't find the place was because it was never built.
Holy cow!
Yeah, it was never built.
Holy cow! How did that get mixed up?
Well, that was just, guess we could probably call that a little bit a case of mortgage fraud, but I don't know how the first couple of appraisers handled it, but.
Holy cow. I mean, how many times, so I can't understand that. That just defies, you're right, major case of mortgage fraud.
I had another deal, probably 4 or 5 years ago, up in Vermont, for example, where we had this eccentric widow, pretty wealthy, and she had, I think, I specifically can remember walking into this house every time. I think this lady had more books than any library has on their shelves. And this house was built, it was her and her husband who had passed away, and every room had shelf after shelf after shelf full of books. And I had a young couple, and we were going to close Labor Day weekend, and they were all excited, and the gal's parents came out from the Boston area, and they were going to help move, but they were really excited too because they came with a U-Haul full of their daughter's stuff. Any parent here knows you got a kid that goes off to college, and for some reason you become the storage facility. So those parents were so excited because they were finally able to rid their house of her stuff that had been there. So they came in the U-Haul, and the buyers came in the U-Haul, and we went to the house to do the pre-closing walkthrough. And we get there, and there's the lady, the owner, sitting at her kitchen table, having coffee and breakfast like any other day, and had not moved a thing.
Oh my God.
We're ready to close, and my people were ready to move in.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
And ironically, she had her friend, the lawyer, representing her. And I told you at the beginning of the story, she was an elderly lady. Her friend was a practicing lawyer that was 95 years old. And when we got to the closing table at the bank, we met with the buyer's attorney. And I'll never forget, he looked at the other lawyer, Margaret, and said, Margaret, we need to figure this out because your seller hasn't moved out. And I'll never forget, she looked up without skipping a beat, says, yeah, that is a problem.
You think?
Didn't skip a beat. Didn't phase her. Yeah, that is a problem. And long story short, that the folks, this poor seller had to pay to put all these people up and pay their U-Hauls and everything else. And it worked out. But, I tell people in real estate, nothing is concrete. It's always a moving target. Dates are used as targets. And, I think at the end of the day, you have to realize that nothing in life is cast in stone. And you absolutely need to realize that when you're in the real estate business or you're buying or selling real estate. There is nothing over until the deed is recorded and the check has cleared the bank. Simple as that.
Oh my gosh. Yep, that's true though. We know it's true. And I honestly joke around with my husband sometimes and tell him, we get paid for what we know, what we do, and for the tenacity to see it through, because you cannot panic in real estate. You absolutely have to keep your head. And if everybody else is losing theirs, you have to take a step back, figure out what's not working, and then try and figure out how and what needs your attention next, and work it one step at a time, because there's always something crazy going on.
Absolutely. And then, and most of the time, those stressful situations, after, everything's calmed down and it gets resolved, most of the time you can look back and laugh at it.
Yes. But it's not funny at the time. It's not funny to the buyer or the seller ever. And
it's not. And usually it's not for the realtor, because you're dealing with the stress of all the right. parties. But, it's not a perfect world, and they're not perfect circumstances. And I think that was just a great, experience. There's, showing rural properties always has its, things. And as realtors, we talk about people using bathrooms, and there's stories that go with that. And, people are human, and real estate is not precision. It's you're dealing 110% with people. So I think that opens up some times for some things that could be going down, or things that are different or funny, or, the time we were at a residential leasing, and, the tenant's dog walked out. The first thing he did was bit the health inspector. I mean, little things like that.
I don't like a man in a suit. Oh my God. I saw it on Facebook and I thought it was so cute. The real estate agent was advertising his services, so proud, and he said, free roll of toilet paper with every contract. It's like, so this is what we've come to. This is very, okay, now we're going to give away a free roll of toilet paper if we can get somebody to sign a contract with us. And it's like, are you going to give it to them before or at the closing?
That's a little lighthearted humor in today's situation, and down the road in the history books, somebody will look at that and go, I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it now, really. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with. Suddenly, we don't know how to manufacture toilet paper. Everybody's so afraid there won't be toilet paper. I mean, it's going to be paper for us. So I had, I think there are a couple of things that I've seen happen over the years, but one of my favorites, it didn't happen to me. We had a friend, he was also a preacher, but he was an investor, a fairly new investor at the time. We were living in a different state, and he owned several rental properties, and he rented, he did things his way, and that was fine. And he had a tenant in there. He wanted me to go with him. He did not want to go alone out there, because it was a female tenant, and he was just, old-fashioned Southern gentleman. And he just didn't want to show up, and he couldn't reach her, and that's why he was going. And he also kind of wanted to do a surprise visit, and she was a nurse and got home from work about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So he showed up at the house, and she had mentioned that she had a pet pig. But that it was a house pet, and it was really small, and it wasn't a problem. And he had grown up in Georgia, and he was not at the least bit convinced that a pig wasn't a problem. So we went into the house together. She was there and she let us in. She was nervous. And the pig had eaten all the sheetrock off the bottom